All right, so it's finally time to talk about the whole broader third-party tools drama, and this will be my last video on this. I made another one talking about G-Shade and how it's not cheating, and you can't really get banned for it either. There's a lot in that video. You can go check it out. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, first off, I want to talk about the parties in this situation. The first, second, and third party, and all of that. Now, in this business setting, this transaction, right, Square Enix is the provider of the service, Final Fantasy XIV, and we are the consumers, the buyers, the players. Now, we are the two parties involved. Now, the way I see it, they are the first party, we the second party. Now, any other party out there other than us is going to be a third party, and that can be like anything, like literally anything, Discord or whatever. Like, I'm not going to get into that. You may have seen other takes around there, like, how people consider Discord to be a second party because it exists outside of the game separately, but I don't believe that's how it works, at least not in this setting. And Yoshipi himself has talked about this before, and we have to, go by what they themselves have said. And he talked about this whole, generalization of stuff like Excel and Discord and all that. Go check out Live Letter 57 for more information. But with that said, that is basically the whole, third-party idea. Anything that is not us or Square Enix is a third party. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the TOS. Now, first off, if you check the link, I'll put and leave it in the description for the user agreement of FF14. As you can see on the screen, we do not own Final Fantasy XIV. We just have a license to play the game, and we have no ownership of, any of the content and like the characters or whatever. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the things that are not allowed to do. Now, as you can see on screen, we have cheating and botting. You may not create or use any unauthorized cheats, bots, automation software, hacks, mods, or any other unauthorized software or hardware designed to modify the game and gameplay. You may not take advantage of the game system bugs and exploits during gameplay as well. And that's a fairly common practice in games, hardly anything new. We also have the stuff about RMT, farming, and power leveling, hardly anything new. We see them, post notices about this all the time. Private servers. You may not create, operate, participate in, or use any unauthorized servers intended to emulate the game. Now, as Yoshipi mentioned in the most recent post, that having a private server is practically impossible because of the amount of money it costs and the programming that they have on their end, so all of that stuff. And then we have data mining. You may not intercept, mine, or otherwise collect information from the game using unauthorized third-party software. And after that, we have modifying or creating derivative software. You may not modify or cause to be modified any files that are part of the game or service in any way not expressly authorized by Square Enix, and may not make any derivative works of the game. Clear, black and white, don't do this stuff. It's against the TOS. So, like, if anyone doesn't understand the meaning of these sentences right here, they're probably most likely lying to themselves. Now, this includes all these, healthy quality of life mods we see out there and all of that, and doing that is wrong. And what makes it even worse is when you use those and then you're streaming or, making content and you have a broad audience. So you're practically putting yourself up on display and causing more chances to get, penalized for it. So now the one thing I want to add over here is that, right, there is a clear line between add-ons. Like, there are, like I said, quality of life add-ons that really just honestly improve the interface of the game and add more features. And then there's stuff like, CAGBots and plugins, and we've all seen those videos, right? Like, just makes the content easier, way more easier than it's supposed to be. And that is unfair advantage. Then we also have scripts that people have been using and abusing in PvP, and that is just not very good. So there is a line between these add-ons, but at the end of the day, they're all third-party and they all fall into the same category and should not be doing that. But you can hardly stop people, right? So the thing is that it is true that Square Enix needs to develop and add these features into the game, and I'm really glad that they talked about how they will review the prominent tools and improve the functionality of the HUD which, gives us all some hope. Nevertheless, these add-ons are all third party, and the fact that players in the community use them, it's, hardly anything new. Content creators use those, and they're streaming within broad daylight, which is really just not very cool. You shouldn't be using that publicly. And I mean, if something ever happens, if something ever leads to the developers taking action, which happened, recently, you are actually going to get penalized for it. And it's not really, it doesn't come down to the fact that they didn't develop and add these features. Oh, they're not doing this. Oh, they didn't do that. They had to explain, they had to do this and that. No, it's clearly said in the TOS, don't do it. It's not allowed. That's it. In that situation, it doesn't matter if the HUD is absolutely garbage. That doesn't matter. If you're using it publicly, you're basically, taking that personal risk, and it'll happen one day or another. The people have been talking about how Square Enix needs to clarify and, add a list of these things, what is authorized, what is, acceptable and unacceptable. I mean, it's pretty much clear over here that you can't really do anything at all. Like, it could have been handled a lot better. That's definitely for sure. But at the end of the day, like, why would you even take that risk? And then if you check the prohibited activities thing, the section behavior that disrupts the game balance, third-party programs and tools that permit automated or absentee play are prohibited. And, you can pretty much get axed for using those, especially if you're doing that, online in front of people. That's not going to work. Accordingly, the following activities are prohibited: modifying, analyzing, integrating, and or reverse engineering game data or software, creating, distributing, using, promoting utilities that interact with the game. I mean, this pretty much, comprises of everything out there. Like, what needs to be clarified when it's already clarified that nothing is allowed, right? It's pretty much clear as day. Why do people want to, want the devs to clarify this stuff? You wanna argue on that by bringing up the fact that there's a don't show, don't tell rule. Well, if that rule is out there, people have not been following it. Like, look at content creators online, or look at screenshots, look at clips. You can see that blasted damage meter over there on the corner, sitting over there and just showing the damage and stuff like that. And then people have those, skins and all of that, HUD upgrades. Come on, seriously. If this is the rule, the official one, and then you have the unspoken rule, which has been going around for ages, don't show, don't tell. Well, we're definitely not following the don't show part, right? And then when this happens, like, of course, let's take a look at this, right? We have a brand new ultimate releasing in the game after like almost 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years, right? 2.5. And then it's a world race going on. It's such a high profile event, and people are using add-ons. Like, I don't care if it's a buff timer on the party list or if it's like something that gives you a gameplay advantage. I don't care what it is. If you are doing something like this, it's pretty much obvious what's going to happen. Why would you use it? And I recently watched a video by Mr. Happy, and his stance on the whole, third-party stuff was really interesting to watch. Like, it was by far the most base take on the situation. I totally agree with him, 100%. Absolutely. The closest, that people got to him, in terms of takes and everything, Zepla and Quasi. Like, absolutely, 100%, I agree with these guys. And like I said, don't show, don't tell. We're not following the don't show part. And definitely not the don't tell part either. Like, if you were part of communities, you know what I'm talking about. Go on Facebook and groups, and you'll see people posting these modded screenshots all over the place and talking about it. It's like, why are you doing this? So again, it doesn't matter if you're using an add-on which simply adds a buff timer and improves the HUD functionality. It doesn't matter if you're using an add-on which, just makes the game a lot easier. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it's not allowed. Clear as day, it's set in those official documents, and I don't know what they have to do to get the point across when they've already said it officially, and then unofficially, don't show, don't tell. No one has been following the rules. Flaw number one. Now, the other mistake is the fact that the enforcement of rules was a bit lax from Square Enix's side. The issue with this, however, is that even if they had enforced the rules, no one, and I'm telling you right now, no one would have followed those rules. Straight up, we have plenty of these examples in the game. You can't really stop people on the internet like that. You have to take action constantly. And then again, why would they police this whole, third-party side of things? There's a lot of tools out there, a lot of plugins, and it will actually be a lot of work. Imagine them having to divert their resources into the third-party side of things and, reviewing add-ons and just taking those into account and all of that. That's stupid. They're supposed to work on FF14, make it a better game, and hopefully they do. Not mentioned it in the post, but Square Enix needs to add more functionality for to make it more accessible for people who may have some disability and stuff like that. 100%, I agree with that. But you can't really justify using add-ons just for the sake of it, especially when it's against a task. Like, we cry about a lot of things on the forums, and it takes years. Like, I know it took a lot of time for them to fix Living Dead, and a lot of people cried about it on the forums, but they finally did it, right? Might as well go out there and cry for this more, Might as well go out there and cry for this too. Why not? Like, what's the worst that could happen? But instead, we choose to use add-ons publicly on top of that, and then they get banned, and then people just cry about it. Like, this is hardly anything new. Every time something, a new tier comes out, a new ultimate comes out, this shit happens. It's not new. This too shall pass. But TLDR, it's clarified in the task: do not use these add-ons. If you use them, you're using them at your personal risk. There's absolutely no reason for you to show your damage meter on screen or in the video other than stroking or bloating your own ego. That's straight up the only reason why we would do that. But with that being said, hopefully Square Enix does a lot more to improve the HUD and the overall accessibility of the game in the future. But that's pretty much it. That's my stance on it. Basically, we brought this upon ourselves. That's pretty much all there is. Anyone who was using these publicly and talking about them, posting about it on, communities and stuff like that, we brought this upon ourselves. And they have the legal right to take action. So don't show, don't tell. No one was following that rule. So don't cry about the fact that they took action. Like, if something happens, if reports are coming along, they are bound to take action. Like, if they don't take action, it's not going to be a good look on the company. Like, they have something to uphold. They are also at fault for not really implementing these functionalities when players have been asking about that. But at the end of the day, it's in the official documents. You can't really do it for whatever reason. You cry about it, everything else on the forums. We can cry about this in the forums too. That's pretty much it. If you enjoyed the video, throw some support, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.